Good evening, everybody. My name is Joe, and I am a weapon of mass instruction. And, damn. I want to respond to a comment made to me. And, basically what was said, well, what seemed to have been suggested is that I may be a paid disinformation agent. And, you know, this is the third time I'm trying to make this freaking reply. Because every time I try to keep it cool, calm, and collected, I always end up getting pissed off. You know, because I don't think this is the first time that that was suggested, or even the first time by this same person. Like, honestly, if you think I'm a paid disinformation agent, then change the fucking channel, or make some videos flaming me or something. You know? Seriously, I'm always so all over the place with the shit that I talk about. One day I'm talking about Planet X or Nibiru. Another day I'm talking about, you know, spirituality and, you know, the connection between the physical plane and energy and this, that, and the other thing. The next day I'm talking about gun bans, and the next day martial law. Somebody saw some sort of piece of military equipment belonging to the United States or some other entity. Like, you know, and I don't know how many times I've actually touched on Fukushima, but I do mention it a fairly good amount. I'm no fucking expert on it, but I do know that there's plenty of information out there to be had. And I do know that, you know, they're basically not doing their fucking job when it comes to that. They're talking about how they can't cap it like fucking Chernobyl, how it's much more complex. You know, and I'm no expert on nuclear freaking reactors or any shit like that, but it seems to me like they're fucking copping out, and they're basically, you know, giving us bullshit excuses so that they can continue spewing nuclear fallout into the air and irradiating the surroundings. That's just like some of the many things I talk about. I talk about gear, I talk about training, I talk about tactics, I talk about planning, fucking supplies, guns, shooting, carrying, you know, purposes thereof, pros and cons, my personal experiences with. Like, I talk about so much different shit because I am not running under somebody's agenda. Simple as that. Because if I'm interested in something one day, I'm going to start talking about it. If I pick up a piece of news, whether it's mainstream media or alternative media or just crazy shit that I read on beforeitsnews.com or something like that, you know, it doesn't matter. If it interests me, I'm going to pick it up. I'm probably going to relay it along to you all, and I'm going to ask you to, you know, think about it and see what you think. And tell me, because I'm none too bright. You know, I try to make my own connections. I try to make my own conclusions based on the evidence at hand. You know, and in this case, it's the whole Brandon Raub situation. How he was detained and then released. And you know what? Yeah. Like, there was not a whole lot of information to be had. I watched the video where he got detained. You know, I listened to the interview with him and Adam Kokesh, which seemed to be kind of strange that he was able to make that interview in the first place from a psych ward. And I made that connection. I made that conclusion that things aren't as they seem here. And I'm being told that I'm a government-paid disinformation agent? Like, I don't fucking think so. I'm telling you guys to read between the lines and fucking come up with your own conclusions and find more information if possible, because I certainly don't have all the resources. You know, I looked at both of his Facebook pages, and nothing in there struck me as being particularly revolutionary compared to other shit that I've seen and read and heard on Facebook and other media. You know? Like, that's just the specific example here. It was a news item that interested me. I thought it was important enough to mention. But how does that make me a paid government disinformation agent? Because I'm bringing attention to that? If anything, if I was in the business of disinformation, I'd be talking about fluff and bullshit like that. I'd start off with, like, you know, some prepping stuff and then, like, lead you off on a wild goose chase, you know? But you always have the option of turning off my videos if you don't like what you're looking at. If you really don't want to hear anything about martial law, if that doesn't interest you, awesome, turn it off. Switch to fucking American Idol. You know, if you don't want to hear about the depopulation and Agenda 21, fine, turn it off. Watch, you know, Dancing with the Stars or fucking The Real World if that's still on. I don't even know. Like, I think the reason why this is pissing me off so much is A, because there's no way for me to deny this with evidence to back me up. It's a matter of he said, you know. There's, you know, it's one of those things where people are going to have their opinion no matter what. And people are going to have their beliefs no matter what. If you think I'm a disinformation agent, fine. Unsubscribe. And fucking whatever. I don't know. You know, and as far as my decision to look at a mainstream news source on this, frankly, the alternative media wasn't coming up with much else anyway. So why the hell not? That's where I heard it from in the first place. I was looking on the Drudge Report. Do you have a suggestion on a better source of information on this particular issue? Awesome, give it to me. You know, give me a link. Or just mention a Google search that you made and found some information or something like that. You know? That's the whole purpose of comments being enabled on my videos. So that we can have feedback and a dialogue. You know, I shouldn't say I don't have much time to do all this, but you know what? I'm living more and worrying less. And so when something pops up that I feel I should make a mention of, it's, you know, to me it seems to be the more important issue out there in that given day. You know, there's plenty of sites that focus only on Fukushima. There's plenty of sites that only focus on all the nuclear power plants and what's going on with them. There's plenty of sites and channels who focus specifically on martial law, specifically on prepping, specifically on guns and training. And you know what I've discovered is I feel better about the stuff I'm putting out there when I'm jumping all over the place and coming up with my own conclusions and making my own connections. And honestly, like, if you don't think it's worth watching, don't watch it. That's it. That's really what it is. You know, you don't have the obligation of watching my video all the way through if you don't feel like watching it all the way through. Nobody's holding a gun to your head and saying you're gonna do this. You know, Just because we're awake and we're truthers doesn't mean we all know everything. So if I'm wrong about something, feel free to let me know. Plenty of times I've been corrected already. And I try to make mention of it when it happens. So nobody's fucking perfect. If you feel there's a more important issue on a given day, just mention it. Shit, half the time you mention in the comments section, there's only usually 5 to 10 comments in a given video. Chances are most people that come after you are going to take a look at that mention, and they're going to, look in that direction anyway, which is great. That's where I get a lot of my info too. I find a video that interests me, somebody mentions something that happened, and then I go and look into it. Beautiful. But I guess you don't really need me to mention and explain to you how the internet works and how social media works. And the fact that alternative media is just as unreliable as the mainstream media is. Except that, in most cases, it's not being run by the government behind the scenes. Because of the fact that any user of the alternative media has the opportunity to be a contributor to the alternative media. But that's where the real inaccuracies come from, because it's just like Wikipedia. Anybody can put out anything and claim it's fact, and if there's enough people that believe in that claim, then that's what everybody's going to think is fact. As opposed to mainstream media, which we know is about a third of it is outright lies, never even happened, or completely the opposite of what they say it is. 1/3 of it is fluff, and the other 1/3 of it is, they're telling the truth but leaving out specific details to lead us in the wrong direction. But sometimes that's all we've got to go on, isn't it? So don't sit there and tell me that I'm a government disinformation agent when you know as well as I do that there's not a whole lot of information to go on, which is why I'm putting it up here where we can discuss it and figure out exactly what the truth is. Do you think I'd be sitting there telling you? I'm pretty sure I just said this like 10 minutes ago. Would I be sitting there telling you to, look into it and come up with your own conclusions and read between the lines if I was a disinformation agent? Really? Fuck. That's all I got. I'll probably be in a better mood tomorrow when I forget all about this. But honestly, I don't know. For the rest of you, keep on prepping. You never know what could happen next.